Now, in today's video I'm going to be showcasing my new Ynnari HQ, which is Ayana, a former Corsair captain. I went blindly to this build because I just had Eve Rain, and when I bought the Triumvirate of Ynnari box set, I immediately glued her together without even thinking that I actually don't want to use the model. I wanted it for bits and scraps. And I was frustrated at myself for many years, looking at her on the shelf, gathering dust, and one day I was picking up my models from the shelf, getting ready them to be primed, and I just snatched the brain and start hacking away on all the glue parts. And this is the final result. So, in today's video I'm going to be doing it a little bit different. I'm going to go very detailed on how I perceive this project and my line of thought while building this model. Now, looking at the brain, I immediately knew what parts of the model I want to keep. It's the torso, it's the head, it's the hair, and it's the legs. Not so much the arm, even though I cut off her blade arm and left it in the builds box for a rainy day. I was very disappointed when I removed the dress from her legs and noticed how thin her legs are. They were never meant to be seen in public, and they were just sticks. And I immediately knew that I have to change it somehow. And I opened my bits box and found a left leg belonging to a Kabbalite warrior, or more likely from a Venom kit, and a right leg belonging to a witch model, again I guess also from the Venom. I decided to risk it, and I cut the brain legs a little bit higher than the knee to preserve her very detailed stepping part of the leg, I guess the lower part. And then I just cut the leg connecting to the hip straight off. That was a risk because I had no idea how the Kabbalite warrior and the witch legs are going to look on this model, but if you don't take risks, you don't get your required results. When I did that, I started fitting the Kabbalite and witch legs. They didn't fit. I removed some plastic from them to fit them a little bit more. Turned out great, but the entire back part, or her bum, was missing. And since I'm not that good with green stuff, I again got a little bit scared on how I'm going to perceive that. But now, 3 days of sculpting just her butt cheeks, they came out quite great. Not as good as I would like to, but not bad. The problem with the leg parts were the brain lower part of the legs, because they were so thin, there was almost no surface for the glue to hold. Yes, I glued them on, but they were always falling down. And in particular, the left leg connecting to the Kabbalite warrior leg, that part was falling off. So after trying to glue it for 3 times, I saw I cut away a little bit too much plastic from the brain leg and lost a little bit of detail that's on the Ynnari detail, I guess. So I decided to pin the leg That was frustrating in its own right because the pin was so small. If I would be drilling a little bit further into the brain leg, I would it would just crack. I didn't want to do that, but in the end it all turned out. I pinned it, added some green stuff, and smoothed out the surface. While I was doing that, the other leg, the same exact part with the witch leg, fell off because of the pressure that I was pushing while I was holding the model. I was applying pressure on both of the legs a little bit while smoothing out the Kabbalah warrior leg, and in result the witch leg snapped off. But there I didn't use a pin. There was a little bit more surface area for the glue. I just shaved it, glued it, and again with the green stuff I smoothed it out. But there I decided to, since I was scared that again by smoothing that out I'm going to snap the just pin leg off, instead I covered the crack with green stuff, thinking that it's going to be a good bracelet. I was initially planning to use her spirit stones that the original Ynnari model has around her hips for decoration, and that leg bracelet gave me an opportunity and the a piece where to glue those spirit stones. So that was a nice reason to give the model a little bit more character, and that's a very good way of handling problems. Just try to improvise. This entire project was I went into it blindly. I had no idea whatsoever on how to I want this model to look like. Now that was the legs. Now coming up to the arm parts, I was initially deciding to keep the sword and to remove the fan, but then I remember that I was trying to fit the Jane Czar spear hand, polearm hand, many times on other models, and it never looked right. And on this model it actually looked amazing. The polearm arm fitted very nicely to the hand where I made the cut to remove the blade, and I guess the armor of Jane Czar has this thickness to it, and because of that I decided to also glue on the Jane Czar shoulder pad onto the model to give it a little bit more weight, body presence. And with the Kabbalah warrior leg, it looks like one side is fully armored warrior-like, while the other side is more of a gladiator type. I also was debating to add another shoulder pad to the other side, but that made the model clunky, and by doing a community pool on Facebook, Instagram, and forums, it was 3 votes more for one shoulder pad than 2. Well, I like both versions, but in the end I actually like the one shoulder pad more. As for the blade itself, on the polearm, I cut off the Jane Czar blade because it was too big. It looks goofy on this model, and I glued a Harlequin Skyweaver blade instead. It's a little bit thinner and more elegant, I guess. As for the fan hand, I did cut off the hand right at the elbow part, and then remove the palm holding the fan from the cut off hand, and instead I replaced the hand with the another hand belonging to a witch from the Age of Sigmar Cane Altar box model. It's the witch that is standing right on top of the model, holding 2 knives and screaming something. Why I decided on that hand? Because the arm piece had an armor sculpted to it. the armor had some blade parts, and it gave more character, more uniqueness to this model. And the piece fitted so perfectly that you don't need any green stuff to cover the cut. It just fit perfectly. And I was debating, should I use a hand holding a knife or a pistol instead of a fan, but I don't know, I decided in the end to glue back the hand holding the fan. So it gave a bit more character, a bit of more uniqueness than just a hand holding a knife, which would make this model just a generic HQ, while the fan is actually this eye-catching piece, so to speak. Now, as for the hair, I removed the top knot. Again, the surface was very thin, very small, basically no area for the glue to dry. And not to repeat the same mistake that I did with the leg, I immediately chopped off the top knot and drilled a hole inside her head, inside her hair, and pinned it, and just green stuffed the top knot back on. And the final detail of this model is her, where the Kabbalat warrior leg is. There's a armor piece on the hip, which belonged to a Kabbalat warrior, and it was his shoulder pad with a massive blade on top. I cut off the blade, smoothed out the surface, and then decided to try improve my green stuff work, and to green stuff some runes to the armor plate in the same way that she has runes on her shoulder pad that belong to Ynnari. And that actually worked out pretty nicely. It was a spontaneous move, but I had no difficulty with it whatsoever. It just went on perfectly. And the last tidbit is her half cloth hanging out from the left side, which wasn't planned. I didn't want that at all at first, but then I thought that maybe she needs more presence and more movement and flow to the model, and I just did the cloth, and it was a good way to add more spear stones to it, and that's exactly what I did. So this is the model, guys. It's Ayanna, the former Corsair, one of the former Corsair fleet captains. She's going to be used as my Archon troop master, or maybe there's going to be some kind of new HQ for the Ynnari, who knows. And yeah, so that's the video. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked my me explaining my thought process, and yeah, give me a like, a thumbs up, leave a comment, and have a nice day, guys. Bye.